delay. We had a meeting downstairs, a work session at 6 o'clock this evening that ran a little long, so we apologize for that. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Karen.
Here.
Councilmember Costa.
Here.
Councilmember McNeil.
Here.
Councilmember Metzger.
Here.
Mayor Reed.
Here.
Councilmember Schurig.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
We have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. This evening, we have our invocation by Nick Walker from Family Bible Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
God, we thank you for our time here this evening. This is a time in which we come together in the midst of the busyness to focus on our city. We are so blessed to live in this great town of Marshall, and we ask that you would continue to watch over us and be at work in this city. Lord, we pray that you would guide these men and women as they seek to guide this city. Give them the wisdom to make good decisions and the patience to listen. Give them clear minds as they discuss what you would have for them tonight. I pray that this would be a productive meeting where much would be accomplished. Thank you, Lord. It's in the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Nick. Looking at our agenda this evening, in just a second after we approve the agenda, we'll have public comment on any agenda items, and then we would have the consent agenda to approve. Under presentations, item 8A will be the Marshall Area Farmers Market. We'll have item 10A will be our public hearing on the zoning amendment of RZ 18.01, the request to rezone 510 Industrial Road from multifamily to a I-1 Research and Technology. Item 12A will be under reports, the Brookfield Terminal Project. 12B will be the revised charging options for the compost site. 12C will be our third quarter financial report. 12D will be our third quarter investment portfolio report. 12E will be our third quarter cash and investment position report. Moving on then to item 13A under appointments would be our board of review alternate appointment. And then we would have public comment on non-agenda items before moving into council and manager communications. Are there any questions, concerns, additions, or deletions to the agenda as read? Hearing none, then I would seek a motion to approve the agenda.
So, support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. At this time, we'd ask for public comment on agenda items. If there's anything on the agenda that you would like to address, you have 5 minutes. Please approach the podium and state your name and address.
Center, Kathleen Miller, 540 Cosmopolitan. Can you hear me? Okay. Just in random, talking with some people in Marshall and running into some people in Marshall and also knowing a couple other people that called me and didn't realize I was not on the city council anymore. And I have advised a couple council members my concerns. Rumor has it that the place that Kelly Williams is clearing the trees out of, there are city trees in there also, and he is clearing those for us. And in lieu of, since he's clearing the trees for us, he is putting his trees, the one he has cut down, over in the compost center. A couple people questioned that because the flip side of that was they didn't feel it was very transparent, and they also, and this is second, third, fourth people type of thing, but it gets around town fast, that the excavation group that is excavating that with Mr. LaForge working, John LaForge is working for, that is owned by the husband of a city employee. Now, that I don't know. And that city employees are able to go in there and get the lumber and take it home if they want it for burning. Having been on the council, you know how rumors go, and I wanted to stop it. I wanted, whatever we're doing out there needs to be known out in the public. I don't think a special arrangement with a developer is wrong. I just think something should have probably been said, whether in the minutes or in a meeting or as a notice or something, because it comes back to haunt you. So that was my concern.
Thank you. Any other public comment on agenda items? Okay. Hearing none, then we'll move on to our consent agenda. Item 7A is to schedule a public hearing for the fiscal year 2019 budget. 7B is to schedule our public hearing for the proposed change to Chapter 70 Vehicle and Traffic Code. Item 7C is the sidewalk use license for Pastrami Joe's, Schuler's Restaurant, and Dark Horse Brewing Company to operate their outdoor cafes from May 1st of 2018, expiring April 30th, 2019. 7D is our city council minutes from our work session on Saturday, April 21st, and our regular session on Monday, April 16th. 7E are the city bills in the total of $806,719.51. Any concerns, questions, additions, or deletions to the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
And can we have a roll call, please?
Member Karen?
Yes.
Member Costa?
Yes.
Member McNeil?
Yes.
Member Metzger?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
Member Scheuring?
Yes.
Member Williams?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next item would be item 8A, which would be our Marshall Farmers Market. Len, I think, is going to help us with that.
Lynn Reserve, 215 North Sycamore. I'm under contract with the city to manage the farmers market. Unbelievably, I wrote a report that is only one page. And I'm known for my long, lengthy reports. But I thought I would just touch on some of the main topics and avoid putting you through the effort of looking at the whole thing. We just come off the end of the indoor market that we hold at Oakland Hospital in the lobby. We had another good report there, although it was somewhat challenging for our vendors this year with the advent of the flu and the impact it had on the hospital, and they didn't do quite as well. But many of them are still willing to come back again, which I think is great as far as the experience that they've had there with us. One of the things we did with the hospital is at their request, we added a Let's Do Lunch program, which turned out to work very well. We contacted restaurants in the area and asked them if they'd like to come and put on a luncheon. The staff quickly became really fond of that, and we think it would be worth reporting again. A couple of things that happened that we didn't expect was you probably heard now of Torty Taco, who came the first time and had 353 orders placed in that day. And they're now talking about perhaps locating in Marshall. So,
Great.
so I'm saying you may all give us a few pats on the back for that one.
Yeah.
At the same time, too, we asked Grand River Brewery if they'd like to come and do their first thing here in Marshall to start getting people familiar with them. And that, too, didn't get the 253 customers, but it was the second largest group that came in for that event. The hospital also added a number of marketing things, I think, that have helped out considerably this year that we didn't do previously. So when I talk about the Green Street operation, our outdoor market, we're talking about last summer at this point. And that mirrored what we had done in the past with numbers and the participation of vendors and customers alike. The average was 700 customers, with some days going over 1,000 customers, which we think is quite good. Also well received with that was our farm-to-table dinner. again, a great turnout with over 200 people coming to the dinner. And Kathy Miller introduced an entrepreneurial program for children 6 to 12, 6 years to 12 years, which has been a big hit, so we're adding a second event this year. The market is self-supporting, and we also contribute just under $3,000 so far to the city for their services that they provide us. So we respectfully request approval of the special use permit to us for the Green Street lot. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, first of all, congratulations on a great first weekend. The weather was beautiful, people were out, the vendors seemed to be very happy.
We're taking
and
full credit for that, Jack.
It was great. So the question that I have, Lynn, is the parking lot would only be used if necessary? I mean, how will you know, or how will they know that we need to expand the parking lot and not have any cars parked down at the end?
In past years, we have always asked for ability to move into that if we should go to that point. This year, we're doing a little something different too, in that the advisory board to the market asked that we make that a parking for vendors only. One thing is we have concern about safety with people coming in and out so close to the market and running cars in when there are children around. So we think that'll be a good safety move on our part. So we have a little bit more control even now.
Okay, so you'll know at 7:30 in the morning whether or not they're going to be able to park at that end or not?
Well, if it's there, they're going to take it, I'm sure.
Right, right.
But yeah. And I think at some point we won't be able to accommodate all the vendors.
Right.
Anything else?
Any questions for Lynn?
You do a great job. Thank
Yeah.
you so
Thank
much.
And I loved the children's program last year, Kathy, that was brilliant, and the kids had a great time. I know we went broke that weekend because they were just so cute. We went to every booth, and I had to go back to the car 3 times. So just those kinds of activities, I think, is just really brings the community in, and they just want to be there and want to be a part of it. So thank you to you and your whole team.
Oh, I forgot one thing too. Last year, we had the program for low-income families to be able to purchase healthy foods at a smaller price. We're going to expand that this year to 2 more programs, the Project Fresh program and the Senior Fresh program. So we'll have additional ways this year for people to take advantage of those programs.
How do they know that that's available then? Is there some way that we can market to them so that they're aware, or are you doing that?
We will be marketing to that. We're waiting for the final approval on the Project Fresh program. It doesn't start until June 1st, as it is. So we're going to send out press releases, and we reached out to the food banks and senior citizen homes and those kind of places to let them know. One of them is a WIC program, which also addresses issues for children. So
Very good.
And you depend pretty heavily on volunteers,
very heavily on
and if
volunteers.
people are interested in volunteering, who do they get a hold of?
Kathy Miller manages the volunteer program. She'd love to spin it off to somebody else, but another volunteer. But Kathy can take care of that.
I did see some new faces volunteering Saturday, so that was great. Good. So the request that we have this evening is for approval of the use of the parking lot at 125 West Green Street for the upcoming summer season for the Marshall Area Farmers Market. So if there are no other questions or concerns, I would take a motion for that.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Lynn.
Thanks
Thank you.
again.
Thanks, Lynn. Next on our agenda is item 10A, which is our public hearing for zoning amendment RZ 18.01. It's a request to rezone 510 Industrial Road from the MFRD multifamily residential to an I-1 research and technology zone. Tricia's going to help us with that one.
I am. Aaron Morse, who is the owner of 510 Industrial Road, approached the city to rezone that lot. The adjacent property to that lot is also zoned I-1, so it fits the area. It coincides with our master plan. It fits the area. Planning Commission received the request on March 14th. We did hold a public hearing. There was no public present to comment. They worked through the zoning amendment worksheet and found the requirements to be in favor of the rezoning, so we are asking for your approval.
Okay. Any comments before we open the public hearing? Okay. And I'd like to open the public hearing for the zoning amendment RZ 18.01. If there's anyone present this evening that would like to speak, you have 5 minutes at the podium after saying your name and address. Hearing none. We'll close the public hearing and open it up to the council members if you have any questions or concerns about it. To Tom or Trish? None? Okay. All right, well then I would take a roll call. Or I'm sorry, I would ask for a motion first, please.
So moved.
Support. And now a roll call.
Member Costa?
Yes.
Member McNeil?
Yes.
Member Metzger?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
Member Schurig? Yes. Member Williams?
Yes.
Member Karen?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is item 12A, which is our Brooksfield Terminal Project. Kristen will help us with that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Per the discussions we had in our work session, we were discussing the airport terminal and last year, the previously approved council report for funding for the airport terminal project, which if it stays the way it's planned, we would start design immediately for a construction start of the new terminal in midsummer to fall of 2019. Due to funding and needs for maintenance at the current terminal building and airport facility, city staff is recommending delay of this project for design to begin in 2020 with construction to start in 2021. So the funding would be somewhat similar, maybe inflated a little bit due to inflation over the next few years, but we anticipate the numbers would be in the similar ballpark.
Well, we just had a work session on this and spent an hour discussing it even further after having some discussion at our budget meeting that we had. Does anyone on the council have any questions or concerns after having our meeting downstairs that we want to pose now that we've got a little bit more time to think about it or talk about it?
The funding is in the budget to move ahead with the original proposal, right?
Yes, the proposed budget that you put to public hearing for your next meeting does show the capital request.
What would be the reason we'd want to postpone it?
We would use those funds to do maintenance on the existing property. And that's why that was the reason for our
Just
recommendation.
letting everybody else.
And if we were to choose not to delay it, those items would then not be done, or we would have to seek other funds for the maintenance?
They would, well, I'm gonna let Kristen talk, so,
Oh, okay.
sorry.
They would not be done, or we'll see if we can secure funds somewhere else. Right now, they are not programmed in the budget.
Okay, and what are we seeing as a number, a dollar figure for those maintenance items? If we move forward with this, what would we be seeking? 50,000, 100,000, what?
Well, we don't have, we've been asking our fuel supplier to get us costs for a new computer system. We could be anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 for, we need some new pumps, we need the new computer system. We think the problem is actually with the computer system, so we need that. The 12.5, I think, would go a long way to fixing the leaks. We don't need a whole new roof, we need to patch the roof we have. We need to probably replace all the windows because they're leaking, or determine what's leaking around the windows. So I can't really give you a specific dollar figure because this came up real late and we're trying to work on those things and figure that out. I don't envision it being over 25,000 for the fuel pumps. That would be the biggest expense we have, is the fuel system.
Tom, we had the recommendation that's in front of us now to delay the construction for a year. We've had that recommendation provided to us in writing for a few weeks, anyway. When that was first given to us, we were still looking at a significant gap in the budget. Now we've apparently closed that gap, and we're showing starting the construction in 19 and finishing in 20, right, with the budget now.
Correct.
So is the recommendation still pertinent to hold back for a year?
Staff recommendation still is that we would like to do some of this maintenance and delay the project. But again, you know, with your work session, the airport board was there to discuss this. And, you know, if, you know, as, say, a couple things can happen is if expenditures are lower and we see that there's going to be some funding available to take care of some of the maintenance issues, or diverting some of the other items in the budget to do the maintenance, or if revenues were higher, then we would just watch that over the budget period to see if the, you know, those funds would be made available. But again, what we proposed in the budget is what the CIP had in it. And again, it is, yes, our recommendation is different than what the budget, and so I know I'm not directly answering your question, but we feel there, you know, there are needs there. The needs are there. The project is good. I mean, it's sort of one of those tough decisions, you know, which way. But we had to look at taking care of what we have.
So you think the recommendation, though, to delay a year is still pertinent and still the right way to go?
Yes, and I want you to know, you very seldom go against our recommendation, but we, you know, we understand that is your choice, and I'm not, we will move forward, but we do need to move forward with the design, so.
Right, if we're going to move forward with the terminal project, it begins now, is what you're saying.
Right,
Yes.
and we have to build a building. We can't stop after design phase. We have to enter right into construction without repaying back the full cost of the design.
And just to share with the public, we did talk with the airport board about looking at marketing needs. How do we have more sales from fuel, have more revenue coming in, which can be then used for the maintenance. But again, until that happens, we have to look at our current budget. If something catastrophic happened, we got to fix it. And so.
Yeah, I think for, because we had we are coming from a work session, there was some important information that was shared in that session that I think is helpful for the community to hear. The airport is not a well-marketed city asset, and I think that that's unfortunate for our community, because I think it is a valuable resource that we could leverage more effectively. And I think the ownership to leverage the airport is in part with the airport board, and we need to improve what we've been doing as a service to our community via the board. I do think that this is an opportunity for us. The one question that I have that I don't think we touched on is that a construction project of this magnitude also becomes a project for city staff too. And it would be helpful to know, do we think if we approved this to go forward as it is already planned for start of construction next year, do you have concerns about city staff time?
Well, it'll fall all on me. Our consultant will be providing some construction administration. So much like the other projects we have going on around town, I split my time as necessary. So I don't think it'll overwhelm me. It will keep me busy. But I will have a construction administrator from their firm that assists with that project. So we'll have somebody on site at least part of the time to answer questions.
Also, building inspection, our building official will, you know, just as with any building project, will be available.
wrestle and struggle with any time we go against a staff's recommendation. I think Michael and Kristen are great liaisons to us on everything that happens at the airport, much more than what any of us up here ever do. But I was surprised in looking at the report and stuff, the number of landings and takeoffs, the usage of that airport, the talk about future aviation schools and stuff that could be happening in there. I just really struggle with not looking at that in a progressive mode of saying we need to do this because we will never get anything more than what we have today if we don't do that. But I really struggle feeling like I'm going against staff's recommendation when you know much more and you're at those meetings every month. And so I'm really struggling with that. I feel like we need to move forward, but I have a really tough time thinking that I know more than you do about the circumstances. So I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but I want to say that we should move forward with this because we're not ever going to get to where we want to be if we don't take that leap of faith and go. And I think we can come up with $25,000 or $30,000. And I don't think we wait around to see if our budget will be kind enough to give it back to us. I think we have to go after it, and I think the airport board needs to be a part of that as well. There are people that utilize that airport that don't, it means nothing financially for us one way or the other. And I think that that's wrong. I'm not saying they have to give us $30,000, but I'm just saying that if they want to continue to use that as a resource, they should be interested in it further developing to be even a better place for them. So, you know, I think we have to be very proactive in marketing it.
Yeah, I was struck with the airport board seemed to really jump on the notion that we want them to actively market this. And apparently they've been holding back a little bit in the past. And I think, Mayor, you're exactly right. We've either got to be in this thing all the way or we're not. And if we're not, it's just going to continue to devolve. I'm really torn, just like you. I hate to go against the staff recommendation because they're usually pretty solid. But on the other hand, if we've already built it into the budget, if you found a way to do it, and like I say, the original memo to hold back for a year was written back when we still had a pretty good-sized hole. If we figured out a way to make it work, it's never going to be easy. The airport's never going to be fully self-sustaining. We're always going to have city subsidies. I think we just need to recognize that. I get, you know, and when I first read the report several weeks ago, it made a lot of sense. The whole delaying things for a year made a lot of sense. But boy, especially after our discussion here in the work session, I'm losing the reason to hold it back. It seems like, well, why? Let's, if we're going to be in it, let's get this thing done and start reaping the benefits of it.
I would have to agree.
That we discussed, you know, the possibility of a flight school, and you know, we even kicked around some ideas that Jim suggested with Western that might even bring even more revenue in. We can't do any of those things until we have this done, so that argues against holding back for a year. So
I was very excited to hear Craig talk about the aviation school. Just the idea that we could evolve to something like that here out of this airport. It just excites me about the possibilities of what could be.
Regrettably, I don't have the benefit of having been at the work session, which in previous conversations where we had spoken about postponing wouldn't necessarily affect the funding that was available to us in moving forward with this project. It seems like many of my fellow council members have seen something different at the work session that regrettably I wasn't privy to. Now, not having been at the work session, is there already a business plan for a flight school? I mean, what is the likelihood, or is this a dream that could happen, could not happen, if we haven't been able to maintain what we already have, which was kind of the crux of where we were when we last spoke moving forward didn't seem like a great option at this time. So what transpired exactly?
Craig Griswold, who is our airport manager, also runs Griswold Aviation. He hired a mechanic who is a flight instructor, so he's looking to expand his aviation business into a flight school, as well as his aviation. He's going to be doing it, I talked with him just last Friday about this, he's going to be doing it as he can along with his other work. He's been very busy on the maintenance of planes, so he's going to be building that program. He doesn't have a time scale as to when he wants to have it, but he wants to try to do it this year if he can. And he's looking to expand his use of the building into the current classroom and terminal area, which won't affect the operations as we have right now. It's just using a space that sits idle most of the time, which is the classroom.
Which those types of things would mean added revenue for us, rental of the classroom, fuel charges by having additional business there.
It should be noted, Mr. Mayor, that a classroom cannot be built in our current new terminal. It is not an eligible area in the current justification study. So even if we have the new terminal, the classroom will always have to be in the old terminal building.
I think we had discussed.
I just didn't want anybody to expect to see a classroom and then it not be there.
Yeah.
The FAA is very restrictive on what you can have. And our consultants are very creative about naming spaces, certain things, while they might have another use. But
So I'm with the mayor in terms of the anxiety about going against a recommendation from City Council. City Council is a consistently good advisor to us. As I joined City Council and became the City Council representative to the airport board, it was one of the first times I had an opportunity to actually go to the airport and to see the operations in the facility. It surprised me to learn the number of flights that come in and out every day. We average around 8,100 total in aggregate takeoffs and landings a year, and those are split primarily between training events and personal fly-ins. We have a number that come in and visit our downtown businesses, and this is something that I think, while I am nervous about committing the city to any incremental financial obligations that are not mandated, particularly if it feels like it's a trade-off between keeping city staff that do crucial services like our fire and public safety work. This one does feel like it's an opportunity in front of us. I feel like we've planned for it. I think the reality now of our budget situation, I would say we need to just go forward with the investment as planned and help the board make effective decisions in how they position the airport, and partner with organizations like MEDA to understand how we can position the airport for potential revenue opportunities too.
I think we have a lot of opportunity there across the board because currently not much of any of that is happening.
That's right.
So no matter what we do, it's going to be improved. But I think we need to go after it even greater than that. And I think you said it best, Michael, when you said we have a city asset here that we don't really even pay attention to.
Sadly.
So, okay.
Well, and as we noted too, the airport is like the first thing these people see when they fly in and visit our community. So this will certainly be an improvement on what we have to offer now, and it could be the tool to help lure some businesses or all kinds of things down in the future as well. So.
Any other comments or questions for Kristen? Then we would seek a motion. The City Council was asked to consider to delay the terminal design at Brookfield until 2020 with construction to begin in 2021. So if we don't want to change anything, we don't have to do anything tonight, but if we are going to go against the recommendation, do we not need to make a motion and vote on that?
No, I don't think you have to. I think we've had your direction, or unless you want a motion to reaffirm the action that you took.
We'd already taken that action.
You've already
Right.
taken, so there won't need to be any action.
Well,
It's up to, you can do it either way.
okay, then if we want to move forward with the delay, then I would seek a motion for that, to follow the recommendation.
So moved.
Is there
Well,
support
are
for
we gonna
that?
vote on it?
Don't have to.
We don't have
not
to.
going
We need a motion that would allow us to delay the terminal design. If we're not going to delay, then we don't need a motion.
Okay.
He takes that back.
So I would just ask
We could
again,
make a
if we
motion and then vote
if we
against
hear
it.
a motion to delay the terminal design,
Just die for lack of a motion.
okay, then it would die for lack of a motion.
Thank you for the consideration.
Thank you. Item 12B is to revise the charging options for the compost site.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Following some feedback that we received or the city council has received regarding the charging at the compost site, we proposed some changes to our previous punch card program. Just for your information, as of 4 o'clock today, we sold 353 punch cards for a revenue of close to $7,000, far exceeding what we expected to get from the punch card system. Our proposal is as such: if anybody's purchased a punch card and they're a light user, those punch cards will still be valid and they can still carry over into 2019 or subsequent years if you don't use but 1 or 2 a year. Residents who are heavy users and would like to have an annual pass, we will sell them an annual pass, which looks slightly different than what the punch card does. I believe it was included in your packet. That will be $30 and good for the year of 2018. If they've already purchased punch cards, they can bring them back to City Hall or to Maida on the weekends and pay an additional $10, and we will give them the annual pass. If it happens they've bought 2, we will refund them via a check from the city for that additional $20, so they can convert to an annual pass.
So they will need to bring in the old one in order to get an annual pass?
Yes.
Okay.
But we will set up Maida so that they can do that on the weekends, so that we'll have that available on the weekends as well.
Kristen,
Yes, ma'am.
only because we had a lot of discussion about the compost center at our meeting. Did we not discuss leaving this year as being an annual with the $20 punch card that they received, and then next year revisiting changes to the charges?
I would like to second that. I remember distinctly, and when I read this in the packet, I was kind of surprised to even see it, because we had clearly discussed that we would move forward with what we had discussed for this year,
Right.
and then revisit it for forward year 19.
Right.
So I was kind of surprised to see this in the packet this week.
I'm not following exactly what you're saying.
I think we decided to leave it at the $20 unlimited for this year, and people would, because you have 300 people potentially, they're going to have to come back down to City Hall to get their $10 additional annual punch card, which just didn't make any sense. I thought we had said $20, just leave it as is this year, but make it unlimited, and then revisit it next year.
I don't-
If that is in fact what was said, then I misunderstood, or we misunderstood, and this was we thought we were asked for another option, and this was the option that several of us came up with.
And
You are more than welcome to amend it any way you'd like.
One of the concerns was about some of the people that use it only a couple times a year, and then, and so this would allow the card to go over into future years. But there's also, for the person who uses it a lot, then they could get the annual. So staff talked this over and are giving this proposal back, that we think we're meeting the needs of the different type of customers that we have seen.
no, I don't remember it being an unlimited card.
No,
I don't remember discussing that.
This is different than what you discussed.
Yes, it is.
Because, again, we looked at the.
If we switch, right, as Tom said, if we switch everybody over to an annual, and they had intended to buy it this year, and they use it only a couple times and then carry that card over, we've now negated that.
Right.
And they'd have to pay more next year. So we were trying to meld two programs together so it accommodated both the light user and the heavy user by doing this, because they can still take their card they have now, carry it into next year and use it. And we wouldn't,
Okay, but why couldn't you just keep punching everybody's card as they come out there? And once you hit the 10, just have them hold their card and you know that they don't get to use it next year.
we don't have a way on, means and methods on that card to know if we sold it this year or next year. We don't have dates on it
Because it was designed.
because it
But
was
you
designed
don't
to be a
have-
perpetual
But it
card.
would be totally punched, so you know.
No, I think, Nick, the issue is that if someone only uses the card twice this year, they want to be able to use the other 8 next year.
Right.
Our original plan, the revised plan that you're talking about, would have essentially said that punch card at the end of the year is no good. You
Only
can't
for
carry it
those people
over.
that had reached the 10 punches, but people that reach 2, you'll know that next year they can still use that one card that they've got.
Yep.
That's what I was suggesting.
Yeah, I think there was clearly a bit of a miscommunication or misunderstanding, and I don't candidly remember who ended that session, but I would say this, to me, is a really reasonable option. I hear you. I appreciate that there's people that may come back in and have to swap out the card for the annual card, but I think that this demonstrates to the community, we heard you, we need to try to be fiscally responsible with the compost center. We tried the pass card, got good feedback, we're changing it. Here's the new plan, I like the plan, I'm fully supportive.
And my comment wasn't that I'm against the plan. I don't remember it quite the way that you remember it, and I'm not saying that that's incorrect. We talked about a lot of things that day, this only being one of them. I will say, I think something needs to be done because our expenses run nearly 10 times the revenue this is bringing in. It just doesn't make sense for us not to do something, especially with looking at all the things that we've had to look at over the past couple months. I just remembered that we said, let's not change anything this year and move forward, but we do need to take into consideration that there may need to be a change. That's how I remembered it.
I just,
Do we have any,
Well, I was 2 simple questions. When we sell those cards, are we somehow tracking who bought that card? So the individuals that bought 2 cards already, if they thought they were really going to use it that much, do we have a lot of people that bought duplicate cards?
I think part of the problem is my problem. I helped rewrite this. I heard the complaints. I mean, it was pretty easy the first couple of weeks to hear the complaints, the yelling. And it was the heavy users. So
Correct.
trying to do this was to appease the heavy users.
But I do like the idea of the light users, because then that person's spending $20, that might be 3 years worth of card for them. That's great, because that was part of the conversations that I had, where people saying, I don't use it enough, and you're going to charge me $20 a year to use it. You know, so I do applaud that. I also think that if I was a heavy user, I'm probably somewhere in the middle, but because I think heavy users really are heavy users every week out there. You know, if I thought that I was going to be spending $40, $60, or $80 a year on that, I would gladly return to pay you another $10 and get my refund back on the other cards. Because $30 a year for unlimited usage for those people is huge.
I think the other reason, if I remember correctly, which we've already said that there was plenty of things that we talked about, and it seems like all of our memory is a little hazy, but the part of the reason we didn't want to make changes this year is it was going to be more of an administrative nightmare for city staff to try and manage and give reimbursements and all this, just because I saw something in there about having to reimburse a certain amount. And
I think the people who, I know for a fact of maybe 3 or 4 that I'm privy to that bought 2 punch cards. So I don't know that that's going to be a huge number. I'm not sure if John's aware of more, but I happened to be there when a couple people mailed in asking for 2. So
About
yeah,
2. I would say I would agree with Kristen. Maybe
Probably
5,
less than
6
10.
people. Yeah,
Yeah.
less than 10 for sure.
So I don't foresee that being a real huge issue because we'll just refund refund $10 and they're all set for an annual.
And how does that annual pass look different, other than the word annual? Look different?
It's a pass that has multiple years on it so that we can, because we have to print a minimum amount, so we print that minimum amount so we can, it's like the parking passes, we'll punch out the years that aren't valid, so it will only show 2018 for this year.
So when I pay another $20 next year, I'm going to use the same card?
No,
Or
we'll
$30.
issue a new card, but we'll punch out everything but 2019.
Okay.
We'll just have the same card so that we don't have to reprint 750 or whatever we have to print.
Well, as I
If
suspected.
you want to look at the annual, then this is just the $20 card, so, so you can see there's quite a difference in the look and.
Okay. As I suspected, the longer we waited to have this conversation, we have 353 people that have already bought. So as the weather continues to be nice, the number's going to go up. So, John, if you could have this in Saturday's paper, that'd be good.
Well, it's important, I think, for me, that this is something the staff thinks is going to work. So that says a lot to me. And I've been in this chair long enough to know that any change we make, somebody ain't going to be happy with it. I mean, and they get upset over the smallest dollar things, and that's just always the way it is. So I think, Robert, you hit the nail on the head when you said that the money we're bringing in, no matter what we do with this program, is only about 10% of the cost to run this program. We're still, the general fund, the city taxpayers are still paying 90% of the cost of providing this service. So I'm a big believer in user fees. The people who use something should be the bulk of the ones paying for it, and I guess I'm okay with it. It's different than what we talked about, Nick. You're right. It is different, but I think the staff did a nice job of trying to accommodate both the very light user, the person who would use one or two dumps through the year, and the heavier user who's, lives somewhere where they got a lot of trees around and they're going there lots of times. So I'm okay with it. Just be ready. Your phone's going to ring. There's going to be people who are, any change at all, there will be somebody hollering about it.
Any other comments or questions for Kristen? So the recommendation is for City Council to consider to approve the proposed method for charging city residents for use of the compost utilizing a punch card and an annual card system. Let's seek a motion.
So moved.
Support.
And we'll do a voice call, please. Or I'm sorry, I'll do a voice call. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Thank you. John's going to help us then with item 12C, which will be our third quarter financial report.
Good evening, Council. First thing on the agenda is the third quarter financial report. As of March 31st, 2018, general fund revenues were at 87% of budget. It should be around 75%, 3/4 of the year completed. Expenditures were at 71.6%. Non-general fund revenues were at 78%, and non-general fund expenditures were at 69%. I sound like a broken record. I'm going to say the same thing as I said when we did the second quarter. There's no bells, alarms, red flags. There's nothing going on that I am aware of today. If I'm not aware of it, shame on me, but I think we're in good shape right now. So my recommendation is to accept the report and place it on file.
Any questions, comments for John?
Support.
I do appreciate the item, the fund synopsis that you give us here. It's very easy to follow the report once I've gone through that. Sometimes I get a little excited if I don't read that first. So.
I had a couple of quick questions. Electric fund, there's a pretty large deficit as well as the wastewater. Is that outstanding receivables? What would cause electric and wastewater to be running a deficit?
Deficit on the financial report or on the cash report?
I might have jumped the gun.
to that in a minute.
Okay.
You have time to think about that. So we have a motion and support on the table. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, then all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 12D then is our third quarter investment portfolio report.
Our investment report currently, as of 3/31, we have a CD worth $508,133.63, and our pooled cash operating accounts have $2,890,177.89. And that's the basis of the report. Total investment is $3,398,311.52.
Any
Move we-
questions then about the investment portfolio for John?
I move we accept the report.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 12E then is our cash and investment position report for the third quarter.
Again, as of 3/31/2018, total cash was $4,281,396. Restricted cash was $1,204,227. Investments, $2,837,735. Our cash at MSCPA, $2,126,155. And our MSCPA investment of $4,629,106, for a total cash and investments of unrestricted of $7,119,131.
So the question that we had on this one was the deficit of electric at the 1.381 million.
It is what it is. Do I recommend council address this today? No. I don't know if it's an issue. If the state stops the medical marijuana, if the 2 hotels and the 2 restaurants aren't built, yes, we've got to look into this and we'll get into it quickly. It's kind of like Councilperson Williams, you said we kind of fixed the gap. The gap's on the premise that we have 5 grow operations, some other stuff going on. If none of that happens, that gap is not fully, we didn't get there. We're taking a chance on a couple of assumptions. I'm confident that they're going to happen, but I mean, if we get something from the state tomorrow that says medical marijuana is totally put on hold, we're going to have to go back to the drawing board and redo this. And we're going to have to look at electric rates. But as of today, I'm not there yet, let's put it that way.
My iPad is absolutely freaking out, freezing up on me. And I won't be able to find it quickly. These were some notes and questions I had jotted down on the way here from work. In the Local Development Finance Authority, the original budget for $5,000 professional services had a revised budget raised that amount to $155,000. At 9 months, actual expenses were $156,529, which are 111% of the revised budget. What services are we buying that we're so far beyond revised budget at the 9-month mark?
The LDFA approved the water study that is required for the power plant, the Marshall Energy Center. And that is for consultant fees to do the water study to get them the supply. And they're taking that money out of their reserves.
Okay.
And we are in discussion with the power plant operators to potentially reimburse some of that.
That is correct.
No guarantee, but there is some discussion that they may help with some of those costs.
That discussion occurred Thursday last week.
And are they likely?
Well, we hope, yes, because one way or the other, it's got to be built into the rates and because we will have a large capital project that's going to be necessary to deliver the water to them. And then we can, it can't be bonded for the study portion of it, but we can be collecting these funds back that we've incurred for this water study. So, yes, we intend to make our customers whole.
Okay. And then I think my final question, 'cause some of this other stuff we talked in other portions tonight. We voted on a number of things for motor pool, but when you look at the budget, at capital outlay budget on motor pool fund was $341,000 at 9 months. Actual expenditures are $680,000, 228% of the budget. Now I know we've gone over quite a few things in regards to motor pool fund. Can you maybe refresh my memory on how we got so,
Well, some of that,
especially where it said, I think it said recently approved lease to own equipment, which it just seems like lease to own equipment wouldn't,
we have not received the revenues from the loan. But
I think it's the 2 bucket trucks that we pay cash for, the FiberNet trucks. We've got the lease payments, they won't show up as revenue or expense. They're going to come in as an asset, and they're going to come in as a liability, so they'll never hit the revenue and expenses. I mean, it's just a wash. The only time you'll see the expenses when we're actually making the interest payments. Other than that, it'll just be a drawdown on the fixed asset and cash. It'll just wash itself out.
and we did 5-year loans. Is that 5 years or 10? 5.
thank you. I know we've spoken quite a bit
And
about
I can
this.
send you an email on exactly what that increase is.
I would appreciate that.
It was part of the council report increasing the revenue and expense budget on something on that. I'll have to dig it out and I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for John on the cash and investment position report for the third quarter? Then I seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Item 13A then is our Board of Review alternate appointment. I would recommend to City Council to approve the appointment of Dennis Sheridan. His application was sent to you in the packet to serve as the alternate for the Board of Review with a term expiring January 1st, 2020. Are there any questions after reviewing the application of Mr. Sheridan's? He has served us for many years on different things, and excited to see that he felt his health was good enough that he was ready to be active again, so that's great. So I would seek a motion then to approve.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we came to the point of public comment on non-agenda items. If there's anyone in the audience, you have 5 minutes to speak at the podium after giving your name and address on any non-agenda items.
Hi, I'm Jacob Gates, address 602 Turquoise Trail, and I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself to the council. I am going to be running for Mr. Williams' seat for Ward 3 on the council, and I'm a graduate of Marshall High School, grew up here, graduated in the class of 98, and was away for a while, and then recently moved back with my wife. I'm a instructor at Olivet College and at Kellogg Community College, and my wife is a physician at Oaklawn, family practice physician. So I love Marshall. I've always loved this city, and which is part of how I was able to lure my wife back here. And so we just love this town. We're very happy to be raising our children here, and I look forward to serving in whatever capacity I can to continue the good work that everybody has been doing to keep the city moving in the best direction it can. So I look forward to meeting everybody and hopefully speaking with you all further. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Any other comments on non-agenda items? Okay, hearing none then, we'll move to Council Manager Communications. Councilmember Williams?
I will not be here for our next meeting in May, and I was just looking at my schedule in June, and doesn't look good either. In fact, it looks like I'm going to be on the other side of the country probably for both meetings. So it may be a while before I'm back to see you again.
Okay.
Be safe.
Councilmember Karen.
I just wanted to announce that I am planning on running for the mayor position coming up in the next election. I announced it in the paper last week, but just wanted to make that announcement here. I'm very excited about all of the great things that are happening in our city right now, and I just want to see those continue to happen and want to be a part of that. So I'd love to talk to anyone about their thoughts and ideas, and appreciate anyone's support.
Councilmember Metzger.
I'm good, thank you.
Staff? Karen? Michael?
Just to thank you to everybody for your time on the airport discussion. That was a good conversation, and I'm looking forward to improved transparency and communication with the airport.
Yeah, it was really nice to have the airport board there this evening, so.
They look like very committed, John.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them have been around for a long time, so they are very committed to the airport or the aeronautical.
Do all of them fly personally?
Yes.
That's crazy. It's neat.
Okay, anything else?
I've not been able to attend any of the farmers market meetings the past few. For that, I apologize. And I will get back to you about playing.
We volunteered you all next month.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Dennis's wife will help me sing at the farmers market, I'm sure. But I'm excited that it's back, and I'm looking forward to having some fresh produce, and I would encourage everybody to do the same and go support the farmers market.
Okay. I have a couple of things. First of all, one thing that we are delayed in getting started on is I'm looking for 2 volunteers to run the annual review process for our city manager for this year, for the spring, which would consist of working with Tricia on setting up a time where we can come in for one afternoon for about 3 or 4 hours and interview some of the staff and take the comments and concerns from all of us and compile all those into a report to be brought back to the council for review and then issuing eventually to our city manager. So I'm not sure who has or has not done that in the past, but do we have any volunteers for wanting to spearhead that? It's really nice if we have 2 do it.
Who did it last year?
I've done it in the past. I'd be happy to.
Did you do it last
year?
You didn't do it
2
last
years
year.
ago.
You did it last year.
Nick, didn't you and I do it?
Did it at some point.
Yeah, Nick and I did it the year before.
Nick's been doing it a lot.
Yeah.
I don't mind,
To
be
answer
honest.
Nick's question, it was not done last year.
And
It was
what
not.
was the logic behind that?
I think we just was busy and it just
Yeah.
never got accomplished, and so, no, it was not done last year.
Are you sure? Because
He
Could
just
be
didn't like
wrong.
the outcome.
I thought I remembered that.
I will double check, but I know Nick and Joe, I'm trying to think who did it last year.
God.
I don't think it was done.
I think it was Michael and I.
And then you and I did it the time before that.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
2 years ago.
So 3 years ago must have been you and I.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, we were a little delayed in getting this done, so
Pretty sad, isn't it? I think Tom.
kind of make sure. Okay, so who did I hear say? Joe, did you say that you wanted to be part of it? And who else?
I don't mind helping. Because I'd hate to break that streak.
Yeah.
Although apparently we did.
Yeah, apparently. All right. Councilmember Karen and Metzger, we will have some discussion about that then. So a couple of other things. It's been a pretty active week this last week, and I'm excited to bring some of this to you guys, and we're going to hear more about these things in the future. But I had the honor yesterday of attending an Eagle Scout awards where 3 of our young gentlemen in the community earned their Eagle Scout awards, and it's really a nice event that they hold out at Wilder Creek. And the weather was kind of nice yesterday. So we're going to hear a little bit more from Josh Kilborn, Evan Walker, and William Rayner, but it was quite an honor to be able to be there, along with our state representative, Dave Maturin, was there to give them some awards from the governor, and it was just a very nice day. So if you know any of those gentlemen, I would definitely congratulate them. And, you know, just as a side note, when those Eagle Scouts do their finishing projects, the city and the community at large really do benefit from those projects. And we've got some very nice ones in our community, again, because of these 3 gentlemen. And some of the other scouts that are there that are about to become Eagle Scouts are working on their projects, and they were very quick to come up and tell me about their projects and stuff. So we've got some very cool things coming down the pike as well. So we benefit very well from them as a community. The other thing was the Marshall Area Conservation Club this past weekend did their 16th annual tree planting in our tree city, and that's now over 1,200 trees have been planted in 16 years in our community. And they had 35 to 40 volunteers that showed up. We had 40 trees to plant, so they were done in pretty quick order, and within 2 hours, I think they were pretty much done with planting of the trees and having them mulched out. So as you go around different parts of our city, you're going to see those trees already planted with mulch around them and stuff, and we have those volunteers to thank for that. They continue to do that. And I know that Jim Curry and Cheryl Vosberg, and there's a whole crew of them that just really put forth a lot of time to make sure that happens for us. So if you see any of those individuals, thank them as well. And then I attended the Sister City meeting about 2 weeks ago, maybe a week and a half ago. And I just want to make everyone aware that in September, we have a very large celebration that's going to be happening here in our city. It's the 50th year for the state of Michigan in the Sister City program. And so our sister city, Koka, Japan, that we've been going back and forth with for about 38 of those 50 years, has just started the 50th year celebrations this last time that we were there visiting them. And when they come this September, we will then have to reciprocate to them and show them a week's worth of fun activities. But that's going to culminate on Sunday, September 9th in, what's the park called?
Peace Park.
Peace Park, thank you. Peace Park, which is in between Quality Engraving and that little stretch next door to them. So where you're going to see a lot of redoing of the stonework in there. They're talking about possibly having a mural painted up on the wall. They've been talking with Kimber Thompson about doing a smaller version mural on the Quality Engraving wall, so that when you're sitting in the park, you can look at that, and it would have something to do with our sister city. And then at that celebration, the city council and the community at large will be invited to attend, because they're bringing this time 45 delegates with them. And so they won't have 45 in Marshall. They get split among 3 cities, but it's going to be a much larger delegation that comes, including their mayor will be coming. And so we're going to have a flag-raising ceremony of the city of Marshall's flag and the city of Koka's flag on our pole out there. And then they're going to do light hors d'oeuvres and have that catered in and stuff. So it's going to be a celebration, and we would really like to be able to have as much representation as we can. So I'll talk more about it as we get closer, but this week we're going to start with the paving bricks and all that sort of stuff, getting some of the projects done there. So.
And it's the work day next week, Monday, I think.
May 14th is Monday evening. We're going to do a cleanup of that so that we can then have a contractor come in and do some additional stonework, paver bricks and stuff like that to kind of keep the pebbles in instead of coming out all over the place. So, so we have to clean it up first. So that'll be May 14th, Monday night. Okay. And that's all I have. So we stand adjourned.